So at the heart of every workflow is basically the production switcher. So we announced the A10 production switcher 4K, which is an 8-input switcher, 4 HDMI 1.4s and 4 6GB SDIs. And then we started to look around that, so we've got the capture and playback devices that we announced last year, which we've upgraded to 6GB SDI. We've also included new products in the range as well, things like an audio monitor, which enables you to monitor all of your audio levels and loop through that 6GB. And then also as well, we've been updating our studio converter as well, which will also have the ability to do 6GB SDI once the optical fiber modules become available. But at the end of every workflow, everyone's asking about a camera. So one of the things that we actually announced at the show this year was a 4K camera. This is basically the big brother to the 2.5K, which we announced last year, and has some significant differences to it, even though the actual physical body of it looks the same. We're actually using a super 35mm sensor, which is a bigger sensor than the current camera, but it also has a global shutter on there as well, so some of the distortion that you would maybe get through movement won't exist now with this camera. We've put a 6GB SDI connection on the side, which means you can now take a live output from the camera, which is Ultra HD, and recording formats are ProRes 4K and also a visually lossless Cinema DNG file. So I think that was something that people were kind of expecting, that we may do another camera, but I think that not a lot of people really anticipated that we would go out and announce this little bad boy. This is basically the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema camera. It is a HD 1080p camera, but it's using all of the key features of the other cameras within the range. What we wanted to do was achieve a high quality digital cinema look. So with a super 16mm sensor and the ability to actually capture on there visually lossless Cinema DNG RAW, as well as ProRes as well, what you're able to do is get fantastic codecs to be able to get that look. But in addition to that as well, we've not sacrificed any of the dynamic range, so we've actually got 13 stops of dynamic range in there. The camera actually records to an SD slot, so an SD card, so that can go straight into your laptop and you can start working off that SD card straight away. The camera is very sort of lightweight, and I think that when you start to look at applications of how we're actually going to use the camera, we're going to see this in a number of different environments. I guess, when you look at the two cameras and you look at the current camera in the range, you have to say, well, where do we use what camera for what? And I guess it comes back to whether or not what the purpose is of your shoot. In many ways, you may only be shooting for HD, which means that you want to get that cinematic look, but you actually want to deliver with a HD resolution. So with a cinematic look in this camera, having 13 stops of dynamic range, that's going to be easily achievable. So when we announced the Blackmagic Cinema camera last year, we obviously had some delays with regards to the actual sensor being delivered to us, which meant it kind of put us back a few months. What we're starting to see now is that thousands of those cameras are in people's hands, albeit we've still got some way to go with that backlog. Our anticipation is we won't experience the same problem with the two new cameras, based purely on the fact they're completely different sensors from different sensor manufacturers. The Super 35mm sensor in this camera and the Super 16mm sensor are obviously very different than the current sensor, which is in the 2.5K. Both cameras, if you actually place orders off of those cameras today, the anticipation is we'll start shipping those in July of this year.